Hello, May class, and welcome to your final maths lesson for the week. So, in the previous lesson, we have started looking at counting squares to work out the area in a shape. And we call them, because they're usually 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter, we call this shape, it's a 1 centimeter squared. Squared means you're going 1 times 1. So, for example, if I had 4 centimeters squared, it would be 4 times by 4. It's two groups of 4. So it'll be 4 times by 4, 1 times by 1, 2 times by 2. So we were looking at reminding ourselves, we count our squares and then we call them square centimeters. So 15 squares is 15 square centimeters or 15 centimeters squared. Today we are going to continue with that work. So before we start, we are going to be doing the arithmetic. Please make sure you have numbers 1 to 10 on your piece of paper and that you have a pencil and your paper to write on. And I need to please keep reminding you that even though you're working at home, even though some of you are doing the work on whiteboards, it still needs to be laid out neatly. You still need to use a ruler. You still need to write on your margin. You still need to be writing in straight lines, please. Right, let's start. So the arithmetic for today. What is 4 times by 9? 4 times by 9. What is a quarter, so 1/4 of 32? And I briefly spoke about this yesterday, but we could say when you're working this kind of thing out, you would go 32 divided by 4 times by 1. So you would divide by the number at the bottom and times by the number at the top. And that would help you to work out the fraction of that number. So what is a quarter of 32? So if you can imagine this whole shape was 32. If I had to divide 32 into equal bits of 4, what would one of those bits be? So you would divide that by 4. And if we go 32 divided by 4, we get, let's see, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32. And we could even count in our sevens because, in 8, so 8, 16, 24, 32. So each one of these will be 8. So if we said it was 8 and 8 and 8 and 8, 8, 16, 24, 32. So one of these will be 8. So a quarter of that will be that. So you would go 32 divided by 4 and times your answer by 1. Just rub this out. Right, moving on. What is today's date in Roman numerals? And you can use your maths date to do it. So 22, 11, 20, 21, it should say. I think we forgot, we've moved times. So I'm going to correct that by saying, where is my pen? There it is. And we're going to put a 1 there. Right, what number is next in the sequence? So we have 23, 28, 33, 38. Write the next number, and if you can write the next 2 numbers, that's fantastic. So complete that sequence for me. Then we have 12 times by 7. We have 24 divided by 6. We have 40% of 10. We have, what is 2,000 meters in kilometers? What is 8:45 p.m. on a 24-hour clock? Remember when p.m. is. If you remember correctly, we spoke about it briefly yesterday. And then we have 72 divided by 6. So pause the video and complete those 10 questions, please. So We're moving on and we're saying, can I make shapes using squares? So to be able to do this, we need to be able to make a shape with a given area. So if I gave you the area, you will be able to tell me, you will be able to give me a shape that has that area. And we can make different shapes with the same area. Because remember, we're counting the squares within the area. So some shapes may have the same amount of squares in them, but the area in those squares will be the same, but the shapes will be different. Which one do we think is different? So looking at this, that should actually finish like that. Which one is different? So I'm going to pause this so we can see. Have a look at the shape. We can see, if I'm just talking aloud about them, we've got 4 rectangles. We've got one that isn't a rectangle. We have one long, thin one. We have one that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have a square in there. So which one do you think is different? Pause the video now and see what you can answer for this. Right, if you have paused the video and counted, you should have then sat and thought a little bit further than just the shape of the shapes given you. What you could have then done is counted the squares in them, because we have been looking at area, and the area is obviously the amount of squares within it. And if you counted, you will see that most of them have 24 squares. So there are 24 centimeters squared for the area. The one that would be different is D. So let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. There are 25 squares. So the area of that shape is 25 centimeters squared. So it is actually the only one that is different from all of them is that one. Right. Can I make shapes using squares? Connor has 6 squares of paper. What different shapes can he make? So what I would like you to do is go and get a piece of paper and cut it into 6 equal squares. So if you have a piece of paper like mine, I'm going to show you how we can do this. So you're going to cut along the middle. Try and make them as even as possible. Okay. Okay, so what different shapes could he make? So I'm going to draw some of them, and I want you to see what you come up with. So if you can imagine, there's a shape, there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's say he could have done that one. If you've got 6 squares of Lego bricks, you can do that to help you out. What else? Let's try the next one. Oh. So we could just do a row of 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That could be it. I've used my 6 squares of paper to make a long row. Do you want 2 rows of 3? Do you want a very strange, like a zigzag shape? So that's something that you can move around. You draw some of the shapes that you have. And do they look anything like, just delete this, anything like the ones that we have here? All of these shapes have 6 squares in them. So all of these shapes are going to have, just like we've discussed, 6 squares. So they are going to have an area of 6 centimeters squared. Each one of them, even though they look different. Right. So the next question says, draw a shape with the given area. So the area for question A says 7 squares. The area for question B says 13 squares. What shape would you have? Your shape is not necessarily going to look the same as mine. So if I am going to do mine, let me get a thick pencil. And I'm going to color in my 7 squares. I'm going to say it's this one. My coloring in is not very good, but you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so that area, that shape that I've drawn there, and I can even put a black line around it so you can see what I'm talking about. This shape here has got an area of 7 squares or 7 centimeters squared because it is made up of 7 equal squares. Does it look the same as yours? No, but if your shape, maybe it does, but if your shape includes 7 squares like mine does, it has got the same area. And that's what we are looking for today. Because there's 1 square, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it has got 7 squares or 7 centimeters squared. Okay, so what I would like you to do is do question A for yourself and question B. Complete them yourself. And then we will be moving on. So pause the video now and complete question A and question B. Right, the next question says, using 6 square sticky notes or square shapes. So if you don't have sticky notes at home, 6 sticky notes, you can use the 6 squares that we cut out earlier. Okay. Make as many different rectilinear shapes with the squares as you can. So make as many as you can and draw some of your shapes onto your piece of paper. If you are using your squared whiteboard that we gave us, you could use your ruler to draw a shape with 6 squares in it. Make sure you've outlined it and draw it. If you have got 6 squares, it is 6 squares or 6 centimeters squared is the area of the shape you have drawn. Finally, for your independent work today, we have got 3 tasks. Remember, as always, try and get through as much of this work in an hour as you can. Whatever you don't do, that's okay. I just want to know that you have tried. If you only managed to do question 1 and part of question 2 in the hour, that's okay. Try and finish it, but if you find it a bit difficult or you get stuck on one question, just make note of it and we can talk about it in our live lessons. So question 1 says, draw 2 different shapes, each with an area of 8 squares. Question 2, add squares to this shape to make it into a square. And remember that a square has an equal amount of the length and the width are the same. So if there are 3 squares across, there need to be 3 squares up. So it would be 3, 3, 3, 3, or 4, 4, 4, 4. So how can we make that shape into a square? Maybe you want to draw that shape with one color and then add the other squares that you need to make it into a square with a different color. What is the area of the square you have made? So how many squares does it take and how many centimeters squared is it? How could you make a larger square? How many more squares do you need to add? And you need to show you're working for that. So a larger square than the one that we've made at the beginning of that question. And then question 3 is some true or false questions. And I don't just want you to write true or false. I would like you to give a reason behind each one of your answers. So, is it possible for 5 shapes to all look different but have the same area? Yes or no, or true or false? If a carpet layer puts down 25 carpet tiles in a square or lays them out end to end to make a line, the square has a larger area, true or false? A rectangle with a length of 9 square meters and a width of 3 square meters has an area of 27 square meters or 27 meters squared. I would maybe say draw your shape of 9 across and 3 up, and then obviously fill in the ones that are missing because it is a rectangle. And then what is the area of that shape? It is not possible to draw a square with the area of 36 centimeters on squared paper, 36 centimeters squared on squared paper. Tell me whether or not that's true or false. You can draw it and show your reasoning if that's how you would like to do it. Don't forget to share your work on Tapestry. I really would be interested to see the shapes you are drawing and the work you have been doing. Please remember to upload your work by 4 p.m. today.